can do this, this, and this project. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Just say yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, we will get you that as soon as we get it.
So a question, will the state have a presentation during this? I mean,
The
they
state
did
actually
last
kind of,
year.
yeah, the state actually runs it. They get all the input from everybody, they put it all together, and it's kind of like a, I don't know if this one's gonna be totally in person, or it'll be a,
I think that's what Jackson, ours was totally improved.
okay, last year it was kind of a web,
Yeah.
across. I think this year it's intended to be totally in person at the city. And so they present, they'll have it on screen, and they present, the village of Jonesville, the city of Hillsdale, us, all the different municipalities that pretty much get Act 51 that submit stuff to them. Not everybody does.
Okay, so my question then is with Camden Village, the state proposal to replace that bridge, is that still on the docket for 24?
I don't know, but that'll be part of their, because they'll cover all the state trunk lines in this area, what they're doing. And that's their portion of it.
So have you heard any more,
I haven't heard any changes.
about, I mean, whether they were gonna build an alternate bridge there, or whether they were going to,
Yeah, they haven't said,
They haven't
but
said,
I don't foresee them doing an alternate bridge.
so we had
That's a
talked
lot.
about,
Doing a detour route and then fixing the roads
Yeah.
that the detour route goes on and stuff, yes. I just look at what territorial roads cost, and I can't see them doing that for a temporary fix.
I can't either. Cause you gotta build a temporary approach to the bridge, both directions.
and then tear it back down.
And then
get
tear it back out,
permits.
you can't leave it,
Yeah.
gotta come back out. So I can't see them spending that kind of money when they could do some repaving on a few miles of roads and come to the same outcome. All right, let's see. So the truck purchases, because of our new costs that we have on the bridges, my proposal to you, I've been talking with the Minnesota Cooperative Purchasing Department, I guess, for Minnesota. They're the ones that handle, I guess, if we want to do a lease. They've got a portion of that cooperative purchasing agreement that'll let us lease the trucks, and we go that route. We can go direct buy to the dealer, and I've asked the dealer if they can give us some kind of letter saying that they would meet or beat the cooperative bid price or the competitive bid price of the Sourcewell. And at least then you're getting at least the competitive bid price or less. If they go through Sourcewell, they have to pay Sourcewell a certain percentage just to be part of Sourcewell. And they would, well, they are part of it, and it can't go that route, but it can benefit both of us in the final cost if you go directly to them, and you're getting at least that or better cost for the trucks. The third option is to go to Sourcewell, like I said, and that route through Sourcewell is based off California, and that's just a basic contract through them, but they, I don't believe, lease. So we'd have to have some kind of a combination there of the two. I guess what I'm proposing to you, because the cost of this engineering inspection and stuff for the bridges basically is the cost of a truck, just shy.
Yeah.
I can't afford to purchase all the trucks at once. The budget just won't handle that, because the MTF comes to us, that's budgeted for 24, and so we get the MTF spread out over 12 months, and so we don't get all of it until the end of 24 is when we actually got the money that we're budgeting against. And so if you bought it all now, you don't have the money to pay for them, and all the trucks are on order right now. So I guess what I'd like to do is either purchase one outright and then lease the other two, and the leases can be, they don't care, it can be for 1 month, it can be for 62 months. And they apply 50% of the lease payment to the purchase price. So we can buy one truck, lease one for 6 months, lease one for 9 months, something like that, to get them out to the end of 24, and then we'll have the bulk of the MTF money, and you can buy them outright at any given point. Any month you can just say, okay, here's the payoff for this month, and that's yours. Or I think because of this, I would like to look at just totally lease all three of them, and that would get them all into 24 before we have to buy them outright. And we could lease like one for 6 months, one for 9 months, and one for 12 months, and kind of spread them out towards the end of the month and do it that way. What's your thoughts on that?
You're not telling us what it's gonna cost us.
The difference between
Well-
lease and buy outright.
Yeah.
What's half the payment and how many months?
If you did it for, I've got a whole spreadsheet that they sent. I think the monthly payment is like $6,700, something, some change. And so they'll apply per truck, per month. And so they'll apply half of that and knock it off the purchase price of $391 and some change.
It's a used truck, shouldn't that price come down?
What's that?
Once it's leased, it's a used truck, so shouldn't that price come down?
That doesn't work that way.
It don't work that way.
I would love it if it did, but
That would be good.
but there's different combinations of trying to get the payments to outright buy them later in 24 versus trying to put the money outlay right now. So.
Boy, I knew it. We're
I know.
talking to an accountant.
I figured I'd have at least two of them.
Well, I guess,
So question.
you know, the question I have is, when I look here at, you know, the 23 amended budget, we're showing an ending fund balance of $5,705,000.
Yes, but you still have all those trucks hanging out there. They haven't been paid for yet. And so there's like $2.5 or $3 million worth of equipment still need to be paid out of that. So if you look in the end of 24 on that same,
Mhm.
it drops to 4.2,
Yeah.
and when you add this to it, it drops to 3.5.
Mhm.
So in the end of 24, when all this is washed out, all the trucks that have been ordered are paid for, these three trucks, you're gonna, at the end of 24, you're gonna be down to 3.5, which is, to me, your bare minimum is where you need to be. That does leave, I believe when you see the 24 budget, I believe that's gonna leave about 500,000 for other equipment. So that would be like attachments for skid steers, a high ranger. I mean, our high ranger's pathetic, you know. There's other equipment that we need too, but the trucks seem to be the elephant in the room.
These three trucks, I used $3,500, half is $7,000, I rounded up.
All right,
And times 12 months, that's $126,000 more
yes.
over 12-month period. Now, again, they're gonna be staggered, some might be longer than 12 months, some.
And I would like to, at that, and really my thought is the lease would get us far enough down the road that we're comfortable paying that off. And if we pay one off here, one off here, one off here, it doesn't have to be 6, 9, 12, it could be 2, 4, 5. I mean,
Right,
because they don't care, they don't lock you into, other than they'll only lease them out to 62 months. At that point, you either need to buy them or turn them back in. And at that point, I want to say their cost to buy them outright is like $139,000 then. So to me, that's not economical. If we can lease them for a few months to get us into 24 and to where some of the more of the MTF is in, that was my only main thought on that one.
So if we lease the trucks, we can still get full state reimbursement.
Well, that is gonna have to get worked out, and I talked to the chairman on that a little bit ago. I'm gonna have to check in to see how they reimburse for lease equipment, is whether they're gonna reimburse the lease cost or what we would normally charge them. And I wanna say it's the lease cost. And so I would say you take these 3 lease trucks, put them on the county side, cause they're still paying full rates for all the other trucks that are on the state trunk lines right now. And once you buy it outright, you put it on the state and then let them pay the rest, you know, from there. So there's ways to benefit that as much as possible. But I believe they only pay, like if you pay 6,000 for a truck, I don't know.
A month. Well, the question is when you convert it, the lease to paying it off, are you committed to only the lease reimbursement? Or then is it a purchase truck and then it goes through?
At that point, it'd be a purchase truck, but it'd be less amount.
Because you've already.
Because you've already, you already used it, for that amount of time,
Right.
for that.
Right, so that time expires.
And so from them to the rest of the 5 years, they would pay like they normally would.
So what you're saying is MDOT's not actually gonna pay for 80% of the trip like they normally do.
It'd be less, formula less than that, but I'll get in touch with them just to see if there is a way to, I'm not sure on the lease, so I've gotta.
But if you did leave them on, well, you don't know yet whether they'll do the lease or not. Cause if they would pay for 80% of the lease.
Yeah, if they pay for the lease, I'd put them on state
Sure,
contracts, let them pay.
that's
Yeah.
right back to.
The more they can pay, the better, so.
Right back to where we originally do.
The other option is knock one off and only get two.
What about borrowing money for a year, short-term loan? 5% on 1.2 million was $60,000 versus if we lease them for 12 months, it was 126,000.
Where are you getting 5% money?
Because we're a government.
Governments can borrow money at about half the price of an
I'm
individual.
becoming a governor.
So again, I was
Yeah, yeah.
estimating 5% because we're government.
Well,
Yeah.
and that would be something you would have to
Look at,
approve because, I can't.
you can't borrow
can't
money
enter into
for us,
that.
Bob?
It is an option.
I would certainly be in favor of looking seriously at that as an
Okay.
option.
I think we need information.
Now this is also leaving that CD alone, so that CD is still sitting there too.
Right.
Which is made for two of them that are already on order.
That's your loan guarantee, right?
So I
No,
guess,
if you're okay with looking into a
Well,
loan,
yeah.
I'll look into that.
because again, if borrowing the money for a year is less money than what we give up in the leasing, if one of our local banks,
I didn't know we could borrow money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we borrowed on trucks before.
Okay.
I think we borrowed from County National at that time.
I mean, what we're looking for is short-term financing, we're not looking
Yes.
for a
No.
5-year lease or a 5-year
But
note or anything.
what about the interest rate on short-term financing? Would it be more or less?
We gotta ask the question,
The government financing is a lot better than,
right? So you guys can bring that information
Yep.
at the next meeting.
There's a
I didn't
process.
assume that, because we have no outstanding, like,
Loans?
debts, whether the board wanted to carry any outstanding debt like that. And if you're okay with that, even for short term, I'll look into it, but I wasn't gonna.
What's the downside of doing that as a short term versus, I mean, if we
Not
lease it, we've done the same thing, we have a debt out there. And
I agree.
So I think we need that information to compare it and see
Not
which way
always
is cheaper.
leasing the best way to go.
Oh, no,
Well,
it is the easy button, but.
Yeah.
The thing that it would clearly remove is the question about how the state's gonna
Yes.
treat that lease.
Yes, it would.
Right.
If
Correct.
we buy the
Right.
trucks outright and finance them,
It's
you
good to have
know,
an accountant on the board.
on a short-term lease. Well, and you use what's called an installment purchase contract on a piece of equipment like that. And there is specific language in Municipal Finance Act that you would use to do this. And because I recall a number of years ago, Stan coming to me when I was the county treasurer. And so it's something that we're probably gonna have to get, an attorney who specializes in municipal finance involved with.
Well, we're not looking for an installment agreement, we're looking for a short-term note that we would potentially just pay off at the end of 12 months.
Well, but here again, Kathy,
Or sooner.
if a school district borrows money, okay, and schools do this all the time, short-term financing, they still have to follow the state law, Municipal Finance Act, and you're gonna have to do this here as a road commission. It's not like we as individuals can just go to the bank and say, we wanna borrow money on a short-term note. Because if you don't follow the proper procedure, the bank could get nicked and we could get nicked as well.
again, those questions need to be asked, find out what the avenue is.
See, when we borrowed for the 2 trucks, we borrowed on installment. We made those payments.
Yeah.
And I think we spread it out over 2 years, is what we did.
And we also have.
I would rather not spread it out any longer than need be.
Right.
As soon as we got the
Right.
money available to
Pay it
pay them
off.
off, they need to get paid off.
Right,
Right,
But
right. I
And that's
agree.
something you could do with a short-term loan, because you can pay it off without any penalties.
yep.
okay, well, more to
Find
come
out
on
what our-
that then.
Yep,
You got more work to do.
I know it. Let's see. Just a few updates. Blackbridge Road in Jefferson Township, that project is complete. That was a ditch and deburn, and then some gravel on top of it. Blair Road in Reading Township, they're saying needs 1 more day, and then the gravel will get added, and then that one will be done. Same with Sterling Road in Litchfield Township, they're figuring about 1 more day of the ditch and deburn, and then add the gravel to that. Montgomery Road, from 49 to
Abbott.
Abbott, yeah, that's right. That's done now, we just need to put the shoulders on, because there's a significant rise there now from the new pavement, so we gotta put the shoulder machine on and put some shoulders on there, and then that'll be done. They're projecting all the fog seals to be done, as long as weather allows, tomorrow. All the paver patching will be done as of tomorrow, and at that point, all that equipment, the distributor, the paver, all that will get cleaned up, winterized, and put away. And anybody that can scrape are out scraping with trucks and graders right now. And we'll do that until we get froze out and once we're done with these specific ditch and deburn, we've still got a few more township projects that they've asked us for that we'll just keep picking those off. These were the 3 biggest ones and the most important ones for those townships. So we'll start getting those that are done, and then when we're done with those, we'll just start cutting the berm off. And there's a lot of berm that just get taken off.
I didn't hear Genesee Road on that list, what did you?
It's still on
What did you and Fayette Township decide?
they still didn't want that done this year if we couldn't do the trees.
Okay,
So we need to be able to work out doing the trees first, and then they want the ditch and deburn done.
so are those trees on the agenda for over the winter?
Yes.
Okay.
At least I've been told that Kevin will have some crews down there. Now, we might have to contract some of that out, because I think there's a lot of trees on that section of road, but we'll have to see. Let's see, and then the last thing, I guess, is we need to have you do a resolution for the safety grant. We got a little discombobulated last meeting, and you did the one for the territory road bridges, and so now the numbering got mixed up, so we're back to 23001 for a resolution, and this is for the rumble strips, the recessed pavement markings that belong to the safety grant. And so with that, I guess we just need, who moves it, who supports it, a vote.
Are you gonna tell about the change in the grant? The cost,
Which was
the
that?
dollar amount?
It went up some, I want to say like 40,000, I think they went up. But I don't have a problem covering that and making sure that gets done.
So you mean our contribution?
Our portion of it went
Went
up.
up
Yep.
40,000.
Yep.
I thought you meant.
It was
the
originally
grant
like
went up
the estimate was 510, I think it came in at 556 or something like that. But
And the grant's covering what, 400?
468, I believe. But
Okay.
I move that we sign resolution 23003, safety grant.
Is it supposed to be 23001?
no, it's gonna be 23003.
Okay.
Support.
Any more discussion? I think we gotta do a roll call on resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have a question, so this project would be, take place in 24?
Yes.
Bob Godfrey,
Yes.
Mike Carney,
Yes.
Gary Leininger,
Yes.
Kathy Schmidt,
Yes.
and Mark Klein.
Yes.
And I believe
We got a lot
I've warmed my welcome.
of budget.
Yeah, we gotta do the budget.
Alrighty, yep. So, in front of you, you should have, I kind of did a little cut and paste copy of the proposed and amended, or the approved and the amended for 23. I sent that to each of you last week or, after the meeting. And did you have any issues or?
I got this today. I got this one last week.
Yes.
Okay,
There's a
Okay.
couple, cause I just cut and pasted out of
Okay.
that one into
Okay.
that one.
alright,
Just to take out all the,
okay, I do have some
there is a
questions.
couple minor, where we bumped money because it adjusted, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. What questions you got?
Okay, so this isn't just about the 2023 budget, is that okay? It's also about some of your proposed numbers for 2024. One of them was, what are we doing with the safety grant? So that's
going in
that's
24.
what we just talked about in 24, and we're doing some signage, is that what that money's going for the safety grant?
That's just payment mark.
It's recessed pavement marking and rumble strips in the
Okay.
center of the lane.
And is that something that we don't do every year? Is it not available every year?
No,
We don't do any.
I've never seen
We
one of
never
these.
do any rumble or recessed pavement markings, we just do your normal.
You normally see that on like MDOT roads, and for whatever reason, we got this grant, and
So is this a grant we need to apply for that we haven't been applying for in the past years?
Yeah.
So it's something that going forward, we will be applying for and
Yeah.
doing more of
You
this stuff?
apply for it every.
it may not be for this particular type of work, but it's the safety grants you can apply for each year, it might be for different things.
Okay,
Yeah, tree clearing, pavement marking, signs.
It could be signs, it could be.
Intersection realignments, vertical hill corrections.
so is this something we haven't kept our eye on in the past? Is that what we're,
Probably.
okay,
Because I haven't seen anything in the past where anything like that's been done.
okay. All right, and then, my next question is gonna be other federal sources in the 2024 budget for $935,000. What does that represent, where we didn't have any of those in 2022 actual? We have 756,000 in the amended budget.
That's coming off of the RTF, there's a project slated for 24, I've got a little, you can't see it on here, but I've got little notes in my
Okay.
thing. And so that's like a project slated through the RTF for 2024, that's specific for that amount.
Okay, and does that have to do with that bridge bundling, or no?
No.
No, that was for Camden Road.
Well, no, we were doing some other bridge bundling, I thought.
That was, she's talking critical.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
The ones we submitted for?
yeah,
Yeah, we haven't heard anything on that.
we received an email in
Jackson
Jackson for
did.
2 bridges, so
so we didn't get any of those?
I'm gonna reach out to them
We don't
because
know yet.
I was the contact for both of them, so they might have,
Thought that they already
they might have thought
Oh,
that.
they might be ours.
So I'll reach out to them and find out if we got bridges and if so, how many.
So none of those critical bridge bundling is in the 2024 budget?
That would be in 2026.
That'd be in 2026, okay.
Hey, we might get awarded now, but they don't get billed until like 26.
Okay, I guess this is another 2024 budget item, and that is your interest earned is only at $5,000. I'm assuming that's a placeholder, you're not actually putting in what you think you might actually
No,
earn in
that just-
interest?
That was
But it
actually a
should be quite a bit
placeholder based on past years. This year was just crazy
Interest went out.
Right,
Okay, but if
good.
you're following what the Federal Reserve is telling us, rates are gonna stay higher for longer.
right,
Well, but on the revenues, if we're estimating low and we get more,
right,
That's
Right.
fine.
right.
Well, but in my view, that's not realistic. I think it ought to be at least $50,000-$60,000.
Well,
Go ahead and show.
I think,
Well,
Sorry.
that's a
Well-
hard one to estimate.
well, it's hard to estimate because, again, it's based on our cash flow, even though we have the fund balance of potentially $4 million. Do we have $4 million in the bank at any one time? And as you can see in the treasurer's report, we don't.
and they're different accounts.
And how much of it is subject to a 5% interest and how much isn't? And I don't know those answers.
If we're generated $96,000 this year in interest income, you know, here again, it's not a big item when you look at a $13.5 million budget. But I think you should budget a realistic number, and in today's world, $5,000 is not a realistic number in my view.
We can bump it up.
So you might wanna look at that.
I don't know about 50, but I can
Okay,
bump it up.
so what, on here, when I see TEDF, rural primary, in parentheses D, what is that? Cause our approved budget was at $1 million, and then now it's only $123,000 for the amended budget.
That is specifically, I think the money off of that got moved, and then that's where some of that money for the Territorial Road Bridge
So
went.
we use that as our local match.
What does TEDF, what does that stand for?
Transportation.
I always call it TEDF.
Transportation Economic Development.
Economic Development, yes.
So it's a specific line item in the state's budget, is that what that references or something?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, it's just one of the line items that we can get, and that's through the RTF, the Rural Task Force.
Okay,
And you can like, between us and Lanaway and Jackson, there's no one's in the
Yep,
RTF.
just the three.
You can slash that money around and okay, well, you're gonna get that project for this amount this year, but Hillsdale's gonna get this one this year, and Lanaway will get this one next year, and so that kind of,
so that isn't, that $1 million isn't money we moved around in our own budget. We thought we might get $1 million to do projects, but we only got $123,000 for 2023.
And some of it is money that, in essence, we've delayed the use of.
Yes.
Because,
yeah, some of it's pushed into 24.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cause that's under, yeah, the TED D and the local bridge are gonna be, some of that is pushed into 24 for Territorial Road.
okay, all right. And then I see we have the federal aid buyout in 2023, but nothing budgeted for 2024. How often does that federal aid buyout happen?
It can happen every year, we elected not to because we're using them as the engineer and don't need to do the buyout, cause we can handle the paperwork.
Okay,
Jackson County, I don't think we've ever done a buyout.
Yeah, Angie's totally against buying out, and I think Larry did it
We were
because
lost it.
you didn't have anybody here that could do the engineering paperwork. And so as soon
so,
as we had the Jackson crew able to do it, Angie's like, why lose 10 cents on the dollar on every dollar just to do some paperwork?
so we're still getting in excess of that $800,000, it's just in a different line in 2024?
yeah, it would be there under, I think, under other federal sources.
Well,
That would be a healthy chunk of it.
well, but we got, in 2023's budget, we had $833,000 of federal buyout, and then we had $756,000 of other federal sources. I'm just trying to understand the budget line items, I'm sorry.
Without my little notes that are in each one of those,
Okay,
it's
so
hard.
you could follow up with me on
Yeah.
that then. Okay,
But you probably won't see, I added that federal aid buyout, if you look at everything else, there's probably zeros on that line.
Yeah,
Cause I just added that line to show it for
For the
this
1
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
You probably won't see anything in there.
because we're gonna
Going
use our
forward.
federal dollars, cause we can do the engineering, so they're in
So
different
we use
buckets
all of our
essentially.
federal money and not
Okay.
90 cents on the dollar.
Okay. I guess the other comment as I would make is that as we looked at the 2023 approved expenditure side versus the amended, it seems like we were grouping some things in the approved amount and now we're splitting them out, such as under maintenance, primary roads, local roads.
if you look at all of them, it used to just say preservation, structural improvements, roads.
Right.
That's where we got the hiccup with our
But,
audit,
yeah,
Okay,
because we didn't have it split out and the auditor didn't know how to split it out. So we've said, okay, we're gonna split this out based on what we're charging in precision. And so we can come up with exactly what we spend on primary, what we spend on locals. And so from here on out, you will see everything, whether it be preservation, roads and structures, or maintenance roads and structures, even winter maintenance, separated between local and.
and I know our funding comes in like primary and local, but we have discretion over how we spend that money. So in other words, if our primary, for our primary roads, the funding comes in at, the 5 million, do we have to spend 5 million on our primary roads, or because we're spending less, we're sending some of that to locals? How does
They
that work?
designate it primary and local, but then you get the end of the, well, not at the end of the year, but you can shift 50% of your primary to local,
Okay,
but no more than 50%.
okay,
So, and that's one of the ways Act 51 allows for more work to get done on locals. Otherwise, not a lot would get done. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of work would get done on the primaries, that'd be great, but there's not a lot of funding aimed at locals.
And if you look historically, that's always been the case in this road commission,
Because you have more local roads than primaries.
or at least as many. About the same, they're about equal.
that's true across the state.
Now, a lot of counties, they're mainly primaries. But every county's different though.
Yes.
We got one township in Jackson that every road's a primary. It's from way back in the day because they have a lot of state land, there's no tax base to even do anything with it, so all those roads were designated primaries so that they could be at least worked on, because there's nobody to pay anything on. But
so and I would also say, in looking at the budget, when I looked at primary roads, between the preservation and structural and on the maintenance, we didn't spend much money on primary roads, it would seem to all go to our local roads. 2023, the amended budget, that you're proposing, it still looks like we put quite a bit more money into our local roads, so that's 2 years in a row, so my overall question is what are we doing in 2024, and what are we gonna do to keep our primary roads
More
where
than
they need to be?
I said this year that our focus needed to be on the locals and helping the townships get some of these things done that were kind of hanging out there. And so I knew we were gonna, again this year, key on locals. Next year we'd need to key on some primaries, and we're gonna have to limit when it comes to our meetings that we have in January. We're gonna have to limit some of the work that we're gonna be able to do for the locals so that we can get the primary stuff worked on.
And we should have an idea of what that's gonna be based on Charlie's report prior to the meeting on the 29th.
Close.
Some of them.
Just one more thing.
Well, I mean, but that should be part of that report.
Yes, but that's a very, very high level overview for the,
Yeah, it's hard to,
Oh.
very
Well,
high. That's 30,000.
a year ago, we concentrated on primaries and shied away from locals.
Yep.
So,
And this year we did too.
Yeah.
We did, I mean, all the way up through now. We're still working on a lot of, other than some paper patching on primaries, we've worked on locals all year.
mhm.
And so a lot of time, effort, and equipment and materials gone into local roads.
I think the first year I was on the board, that was the year that you concentrated on primaries. That was in 21, but so in 22 and 23, we've spent a lot more money on locals than we have primaries. And yeah, there's no question, there's lots of primaries out there that need
Now keep
attention.
in mind, if you look up above on the preservation portion, we spent more on primaries by far. And that's like your
Yes,
the crush and shape and the mill and fill, those are
Okay.
the primary roads that got like 2.5 million versus
33,000.
133,000.
For-
So you gotta kind of combine the two, the preservation and the maintenance to kind of get an overall view of what was spent where.
So then in our equipment net, we're showing a net revenue of $134,000. Usually we spend money there. Have we sold a bunch of equipment?
We sold a bunch of junk this year, and that also has to do with the rental fees that we charge during projects. And so when we do a lot of projects, that's got the depreciation and everything in it, and that's kind of a tweak that still kind of confuses me, to be honest with you. When you start adding in the depreciation and the rental fees and stuff, where you originally were expecting, I was expecting, okay, we're gonna spend $750,000 on new equipment. Well, yeah, we did. But when you take off all the other, you actually, it's a numbers game more than anything. It's not really money changing. It's how we account for it.
So if I look at 2022, the equipment net was almost $600,000 capital outlay. We generated revenue of $60,000. So is that because we didn't buy big trucks in 2022, but we bought a bunch of equipment out here for the shop and whatnot? Is that?
Well, we bought some equipment. I mean, like graders and that kind of stuff. The trucks that were bought still haven't been paid for.
Right.
Okay.
So when they get paid for, that would technically come off of that, but now it's gonna show into 24 by the time they get paid for.
I think that's it for me.
So I would move that we approve the amended 2023 budget.
Support.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
So with that, I will then also be getting you guys a draft copy of the 24 proposed budget. And we got that posting out and everything. So that should be able to be approved at the 22nd meeting.
Is it gonna be much different than what you already gave us?
Not much, but it'll be, I have been
Okay.
doing some tweaks to it because of some of these changes. But nothing drastic that I've seen.
Okay.
So
Other than
then,
this.
are you proposing then to hold the public hearing
No.
at the first meeting in December?
No,
No, the 22nd.
the
You
22nd.
can't do that,
Why can't you?
because you have to adopt a preliminary budget before you can even hold the public hearing. That's the statute. That's what the county has to do. You have to adopt a preliminary budget that you have available to the public. And then you hold your public hearing, and once you hold the public hearing, you can approve the budget the same day as your public hearing.
Okay, we were under the assumption it could be all in one there on the 22nd, but. So we'll have to change those postings
Yeah, 'cause,
and.
yeah.
Gary, is that the same for townships?
It's in the
I would think
newspaper,
so,
right?
I would think it's in the,
We had another post.
part of the process. In the Budget Act.
Well, the other option would be to adopt, well, I don't know if you wanna adopt this draft budget, I don't know if that helps you. I guess just changing the posting would be easier.
And if, you know, the other possibility would be, we adopt, the preliminary budget at our next meeting, and then hold a special meeting a week later for the public hearing and the final approval of it.
I guess I just need to know what you would prefer, cause we can do any of it.
Well,
You wanna just adopt it on the 22nd, approve it on the first meeting of December?
December, yeah, I don't think we need a special meeting,
Okay,
because you're not crunched for time to get, yeah, so I'd say, yeah. Let's just do it during a normal meeting schedule. I think your issue is about the posting.
Yeah, I made sure I
Yes.
got it in the
Yeah.
newspaper and everything, so it's 2 weeks posted.
Right.
So now we gotta cancel that, well, already been in.
Revise it.
Do a revision.
Right, so it's gonna cost us some money on,
Oh, yeah.
not much.
That's not much for posting.
Yeah, but you're
it's not much, I thought it was like
complying with the law.
almost $500.
It depends on how many times it's posted, it depends on how many lines it is, it depends how many words.
I was comparing it to this, it's not much.
Okay.
That's a surprise.
Okay.
I have a new business item,
Okay.
and then I need to leave, I have a funeral to attend. So, Camden Township, they brought this up a month ago, and I guess I failed to bring it up. That in the village of Montgomery, from the west Montgomery limit to the county line, McCallum Road is in bad shape. It's a primary road. It's only about a half a mile long. And that, the railroad crosses that too.
Yep, and that's the one that's gonna get the lights and everything installed.
Okay, but, you know, they would love to see us do something there in 2024 with that section of road. And it really looks horrible when you consider the fact that, I believe a year ago, Branch County redid Southern Road, which, you know, you leave Hillsdale County, you're on the Southern Road. So we got this half a mile stretch that's in really bad shape.
Anything else on this budget?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna depart.
All right. Public comment. Don?
I want to bring up what Gary was mentioning about the warning signs out there on Camden Road for like slow moving vehicles around it. I know Bob was talking about regulatory signs need traffic control order numbers. Are you saying the warning signs have to have a TCO number also?
No, not a warning.
Okay, 'cause I think that's what Gary was talking about, a warning sign, but.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think that's just something we need to discuss is a policy, or not even a policy, but how this board wants to react to or deal with, you know, signage. Most counties have a policy saying what they will and won't do.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope when you start putting in other signs. Cause then they're gonna want.
I agree with some of them, because some of them are very, you know, the way the road is laid out or what's there makes it very hazardous. I do caution on putting too many up.
Cause we have had quite a few come to us and wanna put up signs directing to their business and everything else.
Those should actually be on private property and they deal with the private,
right-of-way.
yes, off the right of way.
And that's pretty much, I think, Don, we've handled it that way, that if they put that stuff up, it's gotta be out of the right of way. The only one I know that's in the right of way that I can think of is Goliath Orchard. You see signs there that.
There's a few around that I've seen that are like the tractor, you know, that in the past, they've probably been put up, and I understand that, they're everywhere. But they really need to be limited and start, as they go away, and, you know, if they get knocked over or faded, or, and we need to decide what ones you actually wanna see.
Well, my experience has been people don't read signs anyways.
Well, that's the whole state's take on it, is, it's called sign pollution. If you get too many out there, they just don't listen to any of them, or don't watch any of them.
And also people don't see large objects in the road, only to drive faster.
Actually, with, Wheatland Township had proposed about putting up, horse and buggy signs on it, and, so we got a survey out of Grand Rapids on those signs, so-called signs, and they put up signs and took surveys, and 90% of the people didn't know the sign was ever changed.
Or 90% of people didn't know what the sign
What they said.
was.
Yeah, and that, I presented that to them, and they decided not to put up horse and buggy signs.
Like I said, those intersections where you have multiple serious crashes, I'm good with double lollipopping them, putting lights on them, you know, let's stop those crashes if we can. But so I have a traffic circle.
There you go. That'll.
How about that, Charlie?
That's the answer to everything, right there.
So, to me, the question is, on this particular project on Camden Road, would it behoove us to add some signs or not for the horse and buggy?
We will have to go out and take a look.
Okay, that's what I would like an assessment of. And my other concern is because as a driver, I'm looking for all these detour signs, am I even gonna pay attention to a horse and buggy sign? That would be the other side of, to me, the
Cause there
argument.
are, when there's 62 of them around that block.
Yeah,
You've already
Exactly.
got a lot of signs, you're
Right, it's,
either you know where you're at and you don't worry about the signs, and
Or
you're not
you
looking at
don't.
any of them, or
right,
you don't know and you're looking for them detour signs.
you're looking for the orange ones, you're not paying attention to the other ones.
Does the sign have to be a horse and buggy, or can it say like slow moving vehicles ahead, or something like that? Because.
There's a bunch of different ones that
Because
could say.
what I'm getting is the symbol part of it. You know, most people, they see the one for farm equipment. Have you ever seen a farmer with a straw hat and a piece of grass hanging on a tractor with no cab running down the road? Very few.
that being said, if you did Camden Road, okay? Now, let's say
North Adams.
the other side of detour, somebody hits a horse and buggy.
Right,
Oh, you put signs out here, but you didn't put them
Right.
here.
Right.
That opens us to liability right there.
North Adams Road. There's Amish running up down there all the time. They are well lit though, I'll give them that.
That's something that has come along.
I'm
in the
glad to
past
see that.
years.
I
Yeah,
am too.
they have lit up their buggies, which is
The
something
LED
they
lighting, I
absolutely
mean,
would
they're all
not
checked
do.
right out.
so did I hear you and or somebody from the road commission's gonna kinda go down that road and kind of get a bead whether you think we need something or whether it should be okay without? Is that what I heard?
Sure, I think got some sign guys that can.
It's gonna be whatever you guys think. I mean, we can put them
Yes.
there, we don't need to put them there, as long as we can get the sight distance for them, depending on how fast it is through there, we can put them there. There's no traffic control orders you gotta get for warning signs. You just gotta have the sight distance.
I lean against them, but that's my opinion.
We will take a look.
Take a look,
Take a look,
take a look.
take a look, see what you
At
come
least
up with.
we're gonna assess it and then go from there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
understand what Bob's saying though too, from the
Oh,
liability
gosh, yes.
issue of it. I mean, if you get,
You do one, you do it all.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's some on Hillsdale Road in that detour too. Also,
What's that, the
Amish,
Oh, yeah.
couple, I think, but.
Don, do you have another?
Yes, back to the Bacon Road Seal Coat. I was curious, I know Dave, the distributor operator, he's been on that truck for quite a few years. And I was wondering what kind of training they have been receiving. And I texted Dave, let him know he's kinda getting blamed for this. And
No, he's not getting blamed.
yeah, you're saying he didn't turn it up and.
But as I said, the training is the issue. Is he might not have recognized or known that on new asphalt it needs to get bumped up a
I think
notch.
he recognized quite a bit, cause he said it was too cold and too wet and he said he wouldn't have sprayed it all. He said they sprayed in the rain first time ever. You know, so I don't appreciate our guys kinda getting blamed, like he said, there's management out there, he just does
I
what he's
agree.
told.
I agree, and that's what I was saying, we need to do some training all around. Including me, I go to training on chip seal quite often at the
They
conferences.
should, the paver operators and everybody.
And there's a lot more to chip seal than everybody thinks. There's a lot more science that goes into it than everybody thinks. And the training, I don't know what the training's been in the past. Yeah, he's been the distributor operator since I've been here.
And usually they
And-
throw you in there and say,
All I'm saying is some people, and to me, up until, half a dozen years ago, I wouldn't have told you to turn up the emulsion on New Road, I told you to turn it down. But that's the exact wrong thing to do, and so I just say we need to get training for everybody, whether it be the equipment operator, the chip operator, the supervisor, everybody, so they understand the principles of that. That's all I'm saying. I don't wanna blame anybody for that, because there's multiple things that probably happened to make that fail.
well, like you said, you know, it's been cold, and it's been wet, and I've heard several times they've been doing it in the rain, pouring rain one day.
A
Like,
little
it's
rain or
just-
mist is one thing, pouring rain,
I know they got drenched out on Burt Road when they was out there. I'm like, so who's that go back to? I mean, they're just doing what they're told, so.
and if I came across like that, I didn't mean to blame him. I said, I mean, everybody needs to get training on, and that's why we have asphalt materials come in every once in a while. They can only do so much at a time, but there is specific training for chip seal
Right.
that Michigan Tech puts on, that actually gets down into the nitty gritty of why and when and how, and I just think we need to do more of that.
Oh, yes, I agree. That's like speaking of, Michigan asphalt, or asphalt materials, that were Bucky.
Yes.
Okay, I guess he was on a job site the other day and was asking them, what are you guys doing? You know, cause it was cold and they're out there spraying and it's damp. I guess he was saying they shouldn't even be doing it. Guess, I mean, so I don't know.
So we'll have to get a hold of Dave and touch base with him and say we didn't blame him instead of getting part of this for you.
I will say, I was the one that clarified that it was Hillsdale County employees. What I meant by that comment is that it wasn't an outside vendor,
Right.
not any particular person. It was just that it wasn't done by an outside vendor. That was my clarification.
Right. Well, I just heard he said the distributor guy didn't turn it up.
Well, and he would have been the one, had he had the training and knew, he would have been the one to do the adjusting. Because on the fly, it's very easy for them, if they know what they're getting
They've
into,
been trained.
they can hit new asphalt, they see it coming, because they can see the difference, bump it up a tenth or two, when they get through the new asphalt, bump it back down. Because then you don't want too much on the other side, or you're gonna track it. And so with a road like that, where you got paver patch, old asphalt, paver patch, old asphalt, you gotta adjust.
Like he
That's all I'm
said,
saying.
he can't communicate with the machine behind him though.
But they shouldn't need to, the emulsion drives that whole thing. The guys putting the stone on should be able to put the same amount of stone everywhere, as long as the emulsion's got the right shot rate. But
Depends on how much bleed through you want.
yes, yeah.
If they're
I think
not
you guys in
putting
the
a lot of
past
stone on it,
haven't been
you're putting
used
a
to
lot of
wanting them to bleed
motion on
through,
it,
there should be a
You're
little.
gonna have a lot of bleed through.
As long as it's not tracking, that's where you wanna back off when we start tracking. If it just bleeds through, that's actually good. But anyway, that's just a training thing, not specific to any one individual.
Anybody else? Yeah?
I know Montgomery isn't done between 49 and Abbott. You're still doing the side, but you didn't mention, are you gonna be able to paint the lines yet this year or not?
Yes, they're still out painting lines, because
Yep.
we're finishing up the fog, and where they're finishing fog, they're still painting those too.
Okay.
So the paint contractor's kind of coming back around to hit all the fog sealed roads and that one too.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Steenberg Road, where they painted the yellow centers, they didn't put fog lines on. Was there a reason why?
They might not have gotten to the fog lines, because they do yellows.
Yeah, I didn't know
For
if they
their
were coming
two,
back,
or the white.
coming back the second round and doing the.
Does it have fog on it, or just not new?
No, not, well, just they just fog sealed it, so.
Oh, they just chip sealed it?
Yeah.
I'll have to check the paint plan to see whether there actually is fog lines.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were coming back to put the fog lines on later or what the deal was.
Let me check with John, he's got like the diagram on what road gets what.
Anybody else? No? Nothing? We can stand adjourned then. Thank you.
What?